Maybe this is you. You've been using your phone a lot recently, just scrolling unintentionally. You scroll and then 7 p.m. and then the next minute it's 10 p.m. and then the next minute it's 1 a.m. and you just wasted a ton of hours, basically doing nothing. So you search up, how do I use my phone less? And on YouTube, you see a video and some guy is like, oh, what worked for me is I turned my phone gray, and that made me like dislike using my phone, and like I stopped using it, and then my phone addiction was cured. I think this might just be like some of the biggest propaganda that we have seen in terms of curing phone addictions. In other words, this advice is absolutely terrible, and anyone saying this advice should probably realize that this won't work for most people. And the reason I actually just came up with that example is because one of my friends, I was talking to him the other day, and I noticed on his phone that it is completely gray, or it's like black and white, like the grayscale, I guess. So I asked him, and so we were having a pretty pleasant conversation. He's a smart guy, but one of the things he said, looking at his phone all gray, and he was like, "Oh no, this is so sad." And then it's not working. He keeps looking at his phone, he keeps scrolling, he keeps breaking focus to look at his phone. So in my experience, I think quitting phone addiction, quitting any sort of technology addiction, is one, stopping it before it happens, and two, if it happens, stop. You have your phone, and you gotta realize that you don't want to touch it. But in the scenario where you do end up touching it unintentionally, you have to realize, ideally as fast as possible, to not touch your phone, or to put your phone down. I think there is this chronological timeline that represents phone addiction. So the first part of quitting your phone addiction is to recognize where on this path that you lie. The first, on the furthest left, would be you don't even think you're addicted. These are the people, they scroll for 10 hours every day. They haven't even had a conscious thought yet. They haven't thought of anything that could be oh, maybe I'm wasting my life. They haven't even thought about that. But realistically speaking, if you're watching this video, that's probably not you, because maybe you searched this up, or maybe it got recommended to you, but you don't just watch these videos if you're unconscious, You actually do it to learn something. The second step or path are the people who they consider quitting, but they haven't really made any steps. They thought about it, but they haven't really taken enough steps to make a meaningful difference. And then the next thing, people who, search up those videos, those useless kind of clickbaity videos that tell you about, 1% every day. And so a lot of these people, they'll try to watch these videos. They'll be like, oh, I'll turn my phone gray, or I'll set a timer. Come on, I know you can do better than that. And then the final step are the people who have climbed the mountain, I guess, and they've achieved a lack of phone addiction, kind of cured themselves in a way. So back to my idea of stopping it before it happens, and then if it happens, stop. That's the motto, I guess. So lots of people actually just pick up their phone unconsciously. They don't really know that they're doing it. And so you have to identify, why are they picking up their phone unconsciously? It's more than likely because they're bored. If you're talking to someone and they pull out their phone midway through to look at TikTok, probably either you're not good at talking, or this person has the most cooked attention span. So more than likely, the reason that people will look at their phone unconsciously without even realizing is from boredom, or maybe even stress. They're pretty similarly related. A helpful way to kind of realize this is with an analogy. So some people will think of the mind as a baby. So imagine your brain, it's a baby, and imagine that your phone is a pacifier, those little stupid things they put in babies' mouths to make them shut up or something. And when you have thoughts of boredom or stress, you say, hey, I'm gonna use my pacifier or my phone, and I'm gonna stop the little voices inside my head from speaking, stop the baby from talking, and plug up the dissatisfaction, the suffering, or the boredom, or whatever, the negative feeling, or stop it with my phone by scrolling a few reels, distract myself in a way. So using this analogy, think about being conscious when you use your phone. Let's say constantly think, oh, every time I use my phone, it just happens without me even realizing it. The first step is to become conscious of it, which sounds it's much easier said than done. You kind of just have to have repeated efforts of remembering when you're doing it, which I think is what meditation actually is pretty good for. Like, if you meditate, then you will be able to consciously come back to an important thought or a thought of some kind, you know. It really helps you control the thoughts that you are having in your mind. You can be very conscious of specific feelings that you have. So one of these feelings or emotions or habits, I suppose, you become conscious of when you're using your phone. Like, let's say hypothetically you just, oh, my phone's on, and then, oh, I'm on TikTok, and you're like, oh, look at that. Suddenly I am on my phone, but I am conscious of it. Then you put it down, you stop it. You put your phone down, and you think, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And then the next time it happens, it's that, you know, you're on your phone again, and you're like, oh, this person's texting me. That's so funny. I'm going to open my phone and reply instead of, you know, continuing my work. You just have to be conscious of every time you're doing it, and over time, you will get a message, or maybe you won't even see the message, and you'll just be so enthralled, enjoying of your work, you don't even need to check your phone. It's not even something that crosses your mind. You'll think, oh, my phone went off, and it's like, okay, I can wait. You know, I'm conscious of it. I'm conscious of whenever I use my phone. But the difference between being conscious of it and using like the grayscale thing on your phone, the grayscale filter, is that the grayscale filter doesn't stop you. Inherently, all it is it's a reminder. So yes, technically speaking, it's not a bad thing necessarily. It doesn't actively harm you. But what I will say is that what's way more important than the grayscale thing is taking action. If you don't take action when you see the grayscale thing, then it's not working. And a lot of people, they'll see their phone in grayscale and they'll be like, oh, well, you know, it's in grayscale, but like, I'm still gonna watch reels anyways. The second step, I guess, which helps with stopping your phone addiction before it happens, stopping using your phone even before it happens, and thus can help you become more conscious of it, is to be in comfort in your thoughts. So going back to the example of the baby, the pacifier, part of the reason that they give them to them is because it's a distraction, right? It helps distract them. So if you have those thoughts that you want to distract yourself from them, you kind of have to realize that these thoughts are natural, and you're going to have to learn to feel comfort in your thoughts. And a lot of the times, you know, these thoughts can be pretty negative, and that is also where meditation really helps you. You know, meditation's low-key kind of important for self-improvement. It's like in a low-key kind of way. But yeah, being mindful, being conscious of these emotions, and then identifying objectively which ones are valuable, which ones are useful, which ones you can rely on. And that is a way to become more capable of feeling comfort in your own thoughts. And what I mean by capable of feeling comfort is that most people, they walk outside, have to have their phone on them. They feel naked without their phone. It is in fact a pacifier. However, though, you need to become okay without having external dopamine. You know, some kind of music or having your phone to look at. You have to be okay with like thinking. You have to become okay with, you know, going for a walk, but then not bringing your phone and not listening to music. Just to learn to live presently within your own thoughts. That is what helps you to stop having a phone addiction.